Once upon a time, in the middle of a cold, snowy winter, a queen sat by her window sewing. She accidentally pricked her finger with her needle, and drops of bright red blood fell onto the snow on the windowsill. As she looked at the striking contrast of red on white, she whispered to herself,
I wish I had a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as this ebony wood.
Not long after, the queen gave birth to a baby girl who looked exactly as she had wished. Her skin was pure white, her lips deep red, and her hair black as night.
We shall name her Snow White.
But happiness was brief, for the queen died soon after. A year passed, and the king married again. His new queen was a beautiful woman, but she was also proud and cruel. She couldn't stand the thought of anyone being more beautiful than her. She had a magical mirror, and every day she stood in front of it and asked,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You, my queen, are the fairest of all.
That answer always made her happy, until one day when Snow White had grown into a lovely little girl. By the time she was only 7 years old, she had already become more beautiful than the queen. One morning, when the queen asked the mirror the same question, the mirror answered,
You are fair, O queen. It's true, but Snow White is fairer than you.
The queen was furious. Her jealousy turned into hatred. From that moment on, she couldn't stand the sight of Snow White.
Take Snow White into the forest, and kill her and bring me her heart as proof that she's dead.
The huntsman obeyed and led Snow White deep into the woods. When he raised his knife to kill her, she began to cry.
Please, dear huntsman, don't hurt me. Let me go, and I promise I'll never come back.
The huntsman looked at her innocent face and felt sorry for her. She was too kind and too beautiful to kill.
Run, child. Escape and never return.
To trick the queen, he killed a wild boar instead and took its heart back to the castle, pretending it was Snow White's. Believing Snow White dead, the queen had it cooked and ate it. Meanwhile, Snow White was alone and terrified in the dark forest. The trees loomed over her, and every rustle of the leaves made her jump. She ran for hours, not knowing where she was going. Finally, as the sun began to set, she came across a strange little house in a clearing. Inside, she found 7 small plates, 7 cups, and 7 little beds. Hungry and exhausted, she tasted a little from each plate and drunk a little from each cup. Then she tried each of the 7 beds until she found one that felt just right. That night, 7 dwarves returned from mining in the mountains.
Look, someone has been in our house. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and she's still there.
They didn't wake her. Instead, they let her sleep. In the morning, Snow White woke up and was startled to see the dwarfs, but they were friendly and kind. Snow White told them her story: the wicked stepmother, the the huntsman who had let her go, and how she had wandered through the woods until she found their house. "If you stay here and keep the house tidy, cook, clean, sew, and wash, you can live with us. We'll protect you." Snow White agreed, and for a time she lived happily. Before they left each morning, the dwarves warned her, "Be careful, don't let anyone in. Your stepmother will soon find out you're still alive." Back at the palace, the queen stood before her magic mirror once more.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You are fair, O Queen, it's true, but Snow White beyond the hills with 7 dwarfs is fairer still.
The queen was furious. When the queen learned that Snow White was still alive, she created a beautiful red poisoned apple. Then she dressed as a farmer woman and knocked on the dwarf's door. Delicious apples fresh from the orchard. She gave the poisoned apple to the Snow White. As soon as Snow White took a bite, she fell to the ground. When the dwarfs came home, they couldn't revive her. They built a glass coffin, placed her in it on the mountain, and one of them always stood watch.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
You, my queen, are the fairest of all.
One day, a prince rode through the forest and saw the beautiful girl in the glass coffin. He was so moved by her beauty. "Please let me take her with me. I'll honor her memory always." At first, the dwarfs refused, but the prince pleaded with such sincerity that they finally agreed. As his servants carried the coffin away, they stumbled on a root. The jolt caused the piece of poisoned apple to pop out of Snow White's throat. "Where am I?" "You're safe now. Come with me to my castle. Will you be my queen?" Snow White smiled and agreed. A grand wedding was held. Snow White and the prince were married in splendor. The wicked queen, still believing Snow White was dead, was invited too. Before she left, she stood before her mirror. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?"
You, my queen, are fair. It's true. But the new queen is fairer than you.
The queen's heart was filled with dread, but she had to see who this new queen was. At the wedding feast, a punishment had been prepared. The queen was forced to wear red-hot iron shoes and dance in them until she dropped to the floor, never to rise again. And so, Snow White and the prince ruled their kingdom with kindness and joy, and they all lived happily ever after.